Hi there, my name is J.D. Fox, and I'm bringing to you another geeky thought. This one is about blindness. Um, I recently saw with my husband an episode of Night Gallery, which I've always enjoyed. It's not quite as up to the par of Twilight Zone, but it still is pretty good by Mr. Rod Serling. And we watched an episode involving Joan Crawford. And it's funny because I've seen this episode many times, and I've never really noticed these thoughts on it before, because as you learn things, your perspective changes. But the premise is a simple one. A woman is blind, and she has surgery that allows her to see for so many hours. And being Night Gallery, the dark twist is that when the bandages are taken off, the city is cast into a blackout, and so she spends her time seeing, not being able to see, of course, because everything's dark. Okay, and there's different things that you could talk about. We could talk about the really bad science of it, because you take off your bandages. If you did not have sight, you're not going to suddenly be able to see with this amazing clarity. Acquiring sight is a much more complex process than that. But where I wanted to focus on this video is on the idea of longing and absence, because one of the claims the movie, or excuse me, the short makes is it mentions, oh, she's been blind since birth. And her one wish is to see, to really see the trees, to see the sky, to see, blah, 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 blah. And that just really rubbed me the wrong way. Well, not the wrong way, but it's very odd why someone blind since birth would have such a longing, or what that longing would even look like. Because it seems to be putting a sight bias onto Joan Crawford's character. I remember David Engelman in his book Incognito. He talks about that, compares it to like our senses, comparing it to like a dog's sense of smell. A dog's sense of smell is 1,000 times greater than a human's sense of smell. But we don't spend our time thinking, gosh, we really miss that ability to smell and have that kind of distinction. But in the case of the Night Gallery episode, that seems to be what it's implying, that being blind would be just the most horrible thing, and how she wants to really see for just a few hours so she can have that joy. And I started thinking about this further, and I thought the expression, it's often meant as making someone have an advantage. You've probably heard of the one-eyed king in the land of the blind, which seems to imply that the one-eyed person would be king because, oh, he has this vision, while the other people don't. But I started really thinking about that, and wouldn't that only work if the world was maybe, and it might not even work then, but it would only seem to work if the world was created based on the use of sight, like our contemporary world. Think about what a land of the blind might be like. And whether, I don't know that an eye or 2 eyes or 3 eyes would give you much of an advantage. For one thing, consider at night. Except for stars, it'd be dark. There wouldn't be any lights anywhere. Why would there be lights if it was a land of blind? There would be no need for that. What if on the roads everyone walked barefoot, and the roads were textured different ways to tell you different information about the path that you're taking? A sighted person wouldn't be able to make those distinctions. You wouldn't be able to read signs. There wouldn't be really any signs in the sense of that we see signs. And say, you could say, oh, well, everything's in Braille. What if I knew how to read Braille? Well, Braille wouldn't even be a reality most likely in a land of the blind, because you think about our contemporary use of Braille. Braille takes text language and language that was geared towards sighted people and turns it into something that blind people can use. So it's a I'm not sure if transliteration would be, that's probably not the right word, but it's been transfigured from a sighted view. But something that creates whole source from being blind would be totally different. Maybe there'd be different elevations of the textures and the bumps that would have meaning on its own. What about sound? Maybe if you're casting into the land of blind, there'd be a cacophony of sounds going on all the time, but to people that have their hearing amplified, because all the resources that would be used for vision are now used for hearing, maybe the sounds would tell them different things. Maybe they'd be chattering all the time, kind of like in addition to different information, much like bats, what's it called? Elocution, they're finding distances and knowing how to navigate the world. It would sound very disruptive to our lame ears that only use a partial part of the brain. And I just thought about that longing. I mean, it's not really a new concept of how, that bias that we put onto others. We assume everybody thinks the same way that we do. In fact, one of the philosophers, the pre-Socratic philosophers I really admire is Xenophanes. And I think he sums this bias up really kind of eloquently. This book is called The First Philosophers, and it's a really great list of fragments that have survived time. And it's too bad that we just have fragments of it. But Xenophanes writes, "If cows and horses or lions had hands, or could draw with their hands and make things as men can, horses would have drawn horse-like gods, cows cow-like gods, and each species would have made the gods' bodies just like their own." And then another fragment, he says, "Ethiopians say that their gods are flat-nosed and black, and Thracians that theirs have blue eyes and red hair." And, well, you can imagine that probably then Ethiopians are flat-nosed and black, and that Thracians most likely have blue eyes and red hair. We put these biases onto other people and assume that they would feel the same way we do. It takes really quite a lot of effort to have empathy where you are truly feeling like what that person is going through or what that person experiences. And we never quite get that true feeling. The best that we can do is try to imagine it. And what I think this is important, and what I think the Night Gallery episode kind of touches on, is anytime we deal with issues like transgender or queer or African American or you name it, we have to be careful when we try to assume certain things about different groups of people. Because unless you are actually that person coming from that own experience, you're not going to really quite understand it. So you have to really listen to what they are telling you they are feeling. And I just thought that was really interesting with the Night Gallery episode, because now I just see it as not only just horrible science, but just whole philosophically and ethically wrong by putting that cited claim into that woman who is supposedly blind since birth. And that's just something to think about. So I hope you enjoyed it, and you might look at the episode in a whole new way. Thanks. Bye.